Spells and actions. It seems pretty straightforward, but from the video I made on Dispel Magic and Counterspell, I know that that is clearly not the case. There's a lot of confusion, people telling me, you can't cast Fireball on your turn and also cast Counterspell. It doesn't work that way. You're limited to only a bonus action and a cantrip and all this other kind of stuff. It's very easily clarified in the rules, and I'll clarify it even further using the Sage advice. So if you want to get that straight and have the end-all video on that, stay tuned. Yes, comprehend rules on spellcasting on everything. What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and there is really only one place we need to go to clarify this, but I'll take it a step further. So let's go ahead to the Player's Handbook, Chapter 10, Spellcasting, subsection Casting Time. Most spells require a single action to cast, but some spells require a bonus action, a reaction, or more. And here's the one that trips everybody up right here, bonus action. A spell cast with a bonus action is especially swift. You must use a bonus action on your turn to cast the spell, provided that you haven't already taken a bonus action this turn. You can't cast another spell during the same turn, except for a cantrip with a bonus action time, with a casting time of 1 action. That's the only clarifier there. If you cast a spell as a bonus action, you can only cast a cantrip as your action. That's the only rule on that. That's it. There's nothing else about multiple level casted spells on the same turn. That's not a thing. That's just if you cast a bonus action spell, you can only cast an action spell. Let's read reaction. Some spells can be cast as reactions. These spells take a fraction of a second to bring about and are cast in response to some event. If a spell can be cast as a reaction, the spell description tells you exactly when you can do so. So to my point earlier about Counterspell, if someone's countering your Counterspell, that's the trigger for Counterspell. Them casting a spell within 60 feet, you can cast that Counterspell. There's nothing regarding limiting when you can cast and how many reactions and all that kind of stuff other than the base rules of the game. So, as I stated before in the Counterspell video, clearly nobody went to go view that document because I keep getting questions on it. There's a article, a resource called the Sage Advice Compendium. This is put together by Jeremy Crawford, lead rules designer for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. We gather some of the most frequent D&D rules questions and provide answers to them in the Sage Advice Compendium. That's what this is. So if we go to the Sage Advice Compendium, there's a section specifically dedicated to casting time. Is there a limit to the number of spells you can cast on your turn? There's no rule, or bear with me here, there's no rule that says you can cast only X number of spells on your turn, but there are some practical limits. The main limiting factor is your action. Most spells require an action to cast, and unless you have a feature like the Fighter's Action Surge, you have no way of, you only have 1 action on your turn. So to that point, if I have Action Surge and I have Spellcasting, I can cast a spell as an action, then I can I can use Action Surge to get a new action, and then therefore I can use that action to cast another spell. That is casting 2 leveled spells from any level cantrip to 9 in 1 turn if I have Action Surge and access to spellcasting. If you cast a spell such as Healing Word with a bonus action, you can cast another spell with your action, but it is limited to a cantrip, as we discussed before. And then here's the big one. Can you cast a reaction spell on your turn? 3 words here. You sure can. Here's a common way for it to happen. Cornelius the Wizard is casting Fireball on his turn. His foe casts Counterspell on him. Cornelius also has Counterspell prepared, so he uses his reaction to cast it and break the foe's Counterspell before it could stop the Fireball. The one that everybody mentions in my video is the fact that I reference if you cast Fireball, you can Counterspell, and then they can Counterspell you and you can Counterspell them. The reason I use that is because it's literally spelled out right here in the Sage Advice, showing that someone casts Counterspell, or someone casts Fireball, they're Counterspelled, and then you can Counterspell it back. I hope that clears things up. I'm sorry if this video came out a little bit edgy. I've been messing around with audio settings, trying to make things a little bit better after some comments I received. But it's right there. I don't know where this concept of you can only cast one leveled spell in a turn came from. You can cast a bonus action spell and a cantrip. If you have Action Surge, you can cast 2 spells back to back. Sorry, again, it's just, I literally had to respond to hundreds, it seemed like, of comments telling me that I'm saying it wrong, and I'm telling you, no, this is how it's done. So anyway, shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. And if you, like so many other, has started recently subscribing to the channel, I greatly appreciate that. It's just one click, folks, and it does really help me out and help the channel grow, and I do appreciate it. Sorry again for the tone of the video, but I hope I clarified things. If there are other things like this you'd like to see clarified in the future, please let me know. I'll gladly do a video on it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.